Everyone, this is Ian Troutman, your host of the Walking with Legends podcast, here for a quick message here before we begin. Just want to thank everyone for your support. Thank you for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for checking us out on all of our social media platforms. We really appreciate the support. And if you haven't already had a chance to do so, go ahead and like our Facebook page, like our post, tell your friends and your family about our podcast. We really appreciate anything that you can do to help spread the word. If you have any comments or feedback or just want to get involved with the show, please send an email to walkwithlegends@gmail.com. I check that email every day, and so I appreciate any and all comments or feedback or support or whatever you want to do for the podcast in advance. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope that you enjoy today's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Walking with Legends, where I sit down with athletes and personnel from local teams, such as colleges or minor league teams, and discuss their journeys and how they impact their communities on a daily basis, both on and off the field of play. Alright, so thank you for tuning into the Walking with Legends podcast. I have the privilege of being here with Coach Andy Murray of the Western Michigan University hockey team. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with me.
Well, thanks for having the interest to come and talk to me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So all I'm really going to do is just ask you some questions about your coaching career and just different things that you've learned along the way, and then a little bit about, and then we'll focus in a little bit about your career specifically with Western, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah. Well, and we're going to talk about things that I've learned, but the key thing is that I'm still learning. So
yeah. So first of all, I thought I could ask you what inspired you to become a hockey coach in the first place? Was it just a lifelong passion for hockey, or was it some other kind of circumstances that really got you into it?
Yeah. Well, I'm from a small town in Manitoba, Canada, about 2,000 people, and as we know, hockey in Canada is very, very popular. And grew up playing on the creeks, and then once it got cold enough, the river froze, and we played on the river, and then eventually they got natural ice in our local arena, and we played there. But just a passion for the game, and certainly came from my father and my uncles and my grandfather. They were all passionate hockey people as well. So played the game, played it through university, just loved the game, loved the sport, and was continuing to play afterwards. And my family was involved in the ownership of a junior hockey team, and they decided that the coach that they had after a bench clearing brawl was not doing the right kind of job, and I was a young guy still playing, and they approached me about coaching the team, and it was kind of a thing, you're coaching the team. Mm-hmm. And I coached the team a couple of nights later and really enjoyed it. Obviously, I feel sorry for the young men that I worked with at that time, and they did have an enthusiastic, energetic coach, but I'm not sure I was very knowledgeable about the game at that point, but loved it. Fortunately, have been surrounded by a lot of great players through all the levels, great assistant coaches, and because of that, I've had the opportunity to move to different levels of the game, and here I am at 68 years of age, and just signed a new 5-year contract here at Western. I'm in my 9th year right now, but to be successful at anything in life, you have to love it, and I love being a hockey coach.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. How do you think your coaching style or like the dynamics of coaching have changed since from when you first started, many years ago, to how it is now?
I think you're, as I was saying right at the beginning here, I think there's a need to get better every single day, no matter what you do in life. And we've got a saying here at Western: if you ask our players how are you doing today, they're going to say not going to say pretty good or great or not bad. They're going to say better. And then people say, well, what do you mean better? Well, I had a great day yesterday, but today's going to be better. And that's kind of the way that I've looked at coaching. I follow other coaches one of the best things that I have here at Western is the access to all the other great coaches in the different sports and watching their practices or their games and learning a lot. So I think the bottom line is, as you mature as a coach, you realize you don't know it all. And, there's kind of, at the beginning, there's a little bit of my way or the highway type approach, and you have to do it exactly my way. But I think communication is always imperative. You're going to have success as a leader in anything. And I think communication with the players, listening, becoming a better listener has become something that I've really worked at here as well, too. So I think bottom line is just learning to be more communicative.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe what it was like to make the transition? So you had some time in the minor leagues, and then you went to the AHL, and then you had some experience there. What was it like to jump from that to the NHL?
Well, I've had, again, so many fortunate opportunities. After coaching junior in Canada, I went to the Division I college level there, and we had some good teams and a number one ranking in the country. And through that came an opportunity to go to Switzerland to coach in the elite pro division in Switzerland. So I learned very quickly what it means to be a professional coach, and that's the only thing you do on that particular day is focus on hockey. Helped me a great deal. Had some opportunities to coach with Team Canada International. I'm a Canadian and an American, now dual citizen, but coach for my country in World Championships and Olympics, and the chance to coach in the NHL was tremendous. Spent close to 20 years coaching there, most of them as a head coach with St. Louis and Los Angeles. But it's the bottom line is wherever I've coached, I've tried to treat players the same. I mean, I expect players here at Western. I expected my junior players to conduct themselves like pros, and I expected the players that I coached in the NHL to have the energy, enthusiasm of youthful hockey players. So I think you have to coach within your own personality, and you can't try to be somebody you're not. And that's the approach that I've tried to be honest and upfront with everybody and let people know where they stand.
Mm-hmm. So most sports fans can look at a team's success or failure and kind of try to pin it onto like one player or a group of players or the coach. So can you tell me what it's like in a media-heavy market, I guess you could say, as the NHL, what it's like to kind of juggle that pressure to constantly perform? Is that something that affects you, or?
I'm like anybody in life, and no matter what you're working at, if you're not successful, you don't feel very good. When you're successful, you feel good, and when you aren't successful, you feel rotten. And I think bottom line is I think I've always been a person that has accepted responsibility and looked in the mirror first and realized that it's my job to get the job done. But the bottom line is, again, I mentioned I come from a 2000 in Souris, Manitoba, Canada, and right now I'm not there. So there's 1,999 of them there, and any one of them would trade jobs with me any day of the week. Mm-hmm. Doctors, lawyers, whatever, they'd all love to be a hockey coach in that particular town. So I can't afford to have a bad day because I'm representing all of those people, some of the dreams, and just kind of identifying with me. And it's the same thing here at Western. We've got around 24,000 students. We've got professors, administrators. You met Lynn Ross, our business manager. I don't want to let anybody down. So I don't have to have the media put any pressure on me, or whether it was in LA or not. I put enough on myself because I don't want to let my family down, don't want to let people down that have been very supportive of me. So, I'm driven that way.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say, so last question about the NHL, what would you say would be, and you kind of talked about it earlier, one of the biggest takeaways that you took away from working with professionals and in that that league that helped you as you continued your career?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is everybody looks at the dollars and cents involved in the game, and to me, the bottom line is NHL players just love to play the game of hockey and have fun. They want to enjoy what they're doing. Certainly it's big business, and they're paid way more money than people can comprehend. But ultimately, they want to have fun playing the game, and they're like young kids and young boys, and those kids' parents taking them to the rink at 6 or 7 in the morning. That's what these NHL guys are like. And people sometimes look at them and say they're not putting in a great effort. Well, people fail to realize that could be the 4th game that week in 7 days and the travel they've had and so on. But just to me, the energy and enthusiasm, they have it. And it's the same thing as our college players. I mean, junior players. I mean, it's the fun of the game that everybody plays for. And dollars and cents, it's your job. But ultimately, you got to enjoy whatever profession you're in. As I said, you have to love it.
Mm-hmm. So moving on, what inspired you to make the move to collegiate hockey again, but specifically Western? Or how did you get here?
Well, I think in life you only live once, so you've got to experience it all. And, I spent close to 20 years in the NHL. I had the good fortune to coach in Europe for 8 years in the professional league in Germany and Switzerland. Traveled the world coaching Team Canada. Been in Olympics, American Hockey League, as you talked about, Canadian Junior A hockey, Canadian Major Junior hockey, Canadian University hockey. But I'd never coached U.S. college hockey, Division I. And I had 3 kids that all played Division I college hockey. One played at North Dakota, one played at Wisconsin, and my daughter played at the University of Minnesota Duluth. But I'd always identified with the college coaches that my kids played for and their lifestyle, and I knew a lot of coaches, and it was on my bucket list. Like there were opportunities for me to go back to the National Hockey League and coach, and I got a call about the job here at Western, and I had actually just agreed to be a consultant with an NHL team, and being a consultant is a pretty good job because you're never wrong. It's just people don't follow your advice. But, I came here for a visit. Jamal Mayers, who played for me in St. Louis and played for me with Team Canada in the World Championships, an alum of Western, a very prominent alum. I was friends with Jamal, and he told me what a great place Western was. And I'd kind of been looking and saw that Coach Blashill was moving on, and so when I got the call to come for a visit, I came, and I'm a huge college sports fan. I love going to watch our basketball, our volleyball team, tennis. I'm at as many football games as I can get to. The best perk that I have is I seem to be able to come up with sideline passes for the football games, and I just love the whole atmosphere here at Western. And we had just bought a house in Florida, my wife and I, and we were going to kind of live there and live in Minnesota, live in Canada a bit, and we bought the house in Florida the month before I took this job, and I've hardly slept there in the last 9 years. But I just loved everything about Western when I got here, and great administration. At that time, it was President Dunn, and now we've got another dynamic president with President Montgomery, and Kathy Beauregard, the athletic director, and all the athletic administrators just made me feel really welcome when I came onto campus. And the other side of it is Kalamazoo is the most understated city in the United States. I mean, it's a great place to live. Our restaurants, the quality of life, and the amenities that we have here in this community is tremendous. So I'm very fortunate that they asked me to be the coach.
What would you say was the biggest difference right out of the gate from being in the NHL where you're working with professionals and that kind of thing, and you kind of mentioned how that mentality kind of transferred over to the collegiate level, but what would you say or how difficult was it to kind of make the transition to working with professionals to now you're working with college kids?
To be honest with you, you get from people what you expect of them. So I just came in here that I was going to coach the way that I'd always coach. We were going to run a professional organization. I'd been in the NHL. I knew how the best league in the world operated and the way that they treated their players. So, we adjusted things in terms of meals and travel and so on, just to, the job of a hockey coach or any leader is to eliminate all the excuses. If the players say I played poorly because the team meal wasn't good, or I can only sleep in a hotel that has white sheets, not yellow sheets, and we got to take care of all that and make sure that all those excuses are eliminated. So when a player doesn't play well, and I go up and say, "What happened tonight?" he can't say, "Well, this was wrong, this was wrong." To me, it's all about get rid of all the excuses. I want a player to be able to say, Coach, I didn't play very well tonight, but I'm going to be better tomorrow. No excuses. So that was kind of the approach that I took. But, I don't feel I treated the players any different. The only thing that was a difference for me was all the meetings. Like, when you're coaching in the NHL, you don't have to worry about how your players are doing academically and so on. But I've gotten into the academics just as much as I have coaching. And I mean, we want all our guys above a 3.0, and 2 out of the last 3 years we've been the top academic team in the NCHC, and we've got to get there hockey-wise now here, but as well. But really, there weren't a lot of differences for me in coaching. You just coach again within your personality.
Okay. So what? How do you go about your recruitment process? So Western has a very, I guess, unique recruitment method than I would say a lot of other schools that just try to take the best player and be happy with it. Can you kind of describe a little bit about what you're looking for in the players that you want to come to Western?
Well, we have what we call our evaluation criteria. And the first point on the evaluation criteria, to even be considered by our coaching staff and by this program, is, are you a good person? And that's a question mark. Because until we've talked to opposing coaches, teammates, players you play against, opposing coaches, teachers, other people that know you, we don't know, but we want good people. If you're not a good person, you're not going to fit in our program here. Life's too short to work with people that don't get life and don't realize that you have to respect other people. So that's the first thing, is, are you a good person? The second thing is, are you a good listener? You can't get better at anything in your life unless you're prepared to listen. And we want people that listen, because we want people, when we give them direction, they can follow that and follow direction and get the job done. And people tend to hear more when they know you've been listening. Mm-hmm. So you're a young player, come in here, just shut up and listen. And when it's your time to speak, you'll have earned that right, and people will listen to you. And I'm being a little harsh when I'm saying come in, sit down, and shut up. That's not, I don't say it like that. But it's the context. You need to be a good listener. Third thing is how hard do you work? How hard do you work? The greatest talent in the world, in life, is the ability to work. Some people just work harder than other people. Some doctors work harder than other doctors. Some people in an office work harder than others do. Some salespeople work harder than others do. Hockey players, some players just outwork other players. So that's a talent. And how hard do you work? There's hard work, and there's hard work. You need to get after it. So, it used to be in sports, people would say you need more second effort. I can find all kinds of second effort players. I'm looking for those Pavel Datsyuks that will give you fourth and fifth efforts, because Pavel Datsyuk led the National Hockey League in steals just about every year when he played, and that was because he didn't quit on pucks. He just kept battling. When I coached against him, I thought it was a penalty. He should have got hooking, but it's his work ethic. So, are you a good person? Are you a good listener? And are you a hard worker? Those are the three most important things. If you don't get by those three, we don't want you. Go to another school. And then kind of comes three hockey specific, and the first one is, how fast can you play? We want players that can play fast. Mm-hmm. We want players that can play fast. And that's not just skating fast, which we like as much as anything, but it's thinking the game fast. And how fast can you process it? How fast can you see your options so that you can make the play? We're continually pushing the pace of our players in practice. The fifth thing is can you play on the inside? Can you play on the inside? I don't need to know if you're tough or if you're a fighter or whatever. I'm not worried about that. Will you go between the dots where there's a lot of heavy physical traffic to score a goal? Will you block a shot? Or will you be a perimeter player? And that's fine. You can play on the perimeter, but you're not going to play for us, and you're not going to be a pro player in the future, and you'll have some buddies, and you'll be what I always bring our people in here, our recruits and their parents, and we're sitting across from a young man. I'll say, what time do you want your games to start when your college career is done? At 7 or at 10? And he's kind of looking, because he's probably 16 years old. What's the right answer? What should I tell the coach? And the parents are trying to figure it out. And bottom line is we want guys that want to play at 7, because that's when the pros play. Mm-hmm. When your college career is done, at 10 o'clock, the beer leaguers play. There's nothing wrong with being a beer league hockey player, but you can't be in our program when we're trying to have success. So you got to be able to play on the inside. And then the sixth one is, doesn't matter all the other things, can you make the play? Like, can you make the save as a goalie when we need it? Can you have the puck in your stick in the slot? We're down a goal late in the third period, and can you bury one under the crossbar? You're a winger along the wall. Can you win your battle and get it out? You're a defenseman. They're winding up for a shot from the slot. There's 1.5 seconds left in the clock. We're up 1 goal late in the third. Will you block that shot? So those are the things that we look for. We work hard at recruiting. People hear me talk about Western and about our academics and the energy on campus, and I'll talk about academics, and people will say, well, you can't tell me Western's like Harvard, and I say, no, we're better. And same kind of thing with our hockey program and that. I mean, why can't we be up with the top teams all the time? I mean, we've been ranked in the top 10 a lot of years here, and we should expect that. Our fans should expect that, which reading some of the bloggers' comments, I know they do. But Western's a great place to recruit. We've got the best fans in college hockey. Got the best fans in college hockey. There's no question about it. I mean, our student section, our adult fans, I mean, it's just a tremendous atmosphere. Bringing young people in to see the atmosphere here. And, I think at times we here at Western are too understated as well. I mean, we need to strut a little bit and make people aware of what we've got here at Western Michigan, because it's pretty special.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about the NCHC Conference, and it is, probably very, I guess, well known that it's one of the toughest conferences.
Not one of it, not probably. It is the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
We won the last 4 national championships. We usually have multiple teams in the Final Four, Frozen Four. We haven't got there yet. We're, if we're deserving, we'll get to Detroit this year for the Frozen Four. But it's a tremendous league.
Mm-hmm.
So every game's tough. Great for our fans. And initially, when we moved to the league, the people didn't necessarily know what to think of the new league. They were used to seeing Ferris, and we've kept all those rivalries going. Now we've got Michigan back on our schedule next year. We have Michigan State. We got Notre Dame in non-conference. But I mean, wow, North Dakota, Denver, Duluth, Colorado College. I mean, Nebraska, Omaha, Miami, all those schools, St. Cloud. I mean, just great teams. So, I mean, it's a battle every night. I don't know right now. I mean, we plan to win all 36 games we're playing this year, but I know we can also go 0-36. That's how tough the opponents we have. Our non-conference schedule is the toughest in the country this year, and we set it up that way because we want our men to be tested. That's why so many of our guys are moving on to the pro ranks, because we attract a lot of scouts here because of the teams that we're bringing in. They want to see them, and then they get to see our players as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you've coached at a lot of different levels of hockey, obviously, and each level kind of has their own standard, so to speak, on how they define success. For the pros, obviously, a lot of it is wins and losses, and that kind of thing. But for your career here at Western, at the end of the season, what would you like to see happen that would kind of help you to label that season as a successful season?
All 4 of our players, or all 4 of our seniors graduating on time. I think that's a standard. We want to keep a high grade point average, being certainly the top of our league in terms of academic performance. Winning a national championship. I mean, if you don't have that goal in a season, you shouldn't play. Like if you plan to go, we got 36 games this year. I mean, do you like something? Is 24-12 good? 24 wins and 12 losses, or what? I mean, you should plan to win all 36 games, because if you think 24-12 is pretty good, then let's just find out who those 12 losses are planned to be against, and we won't go play the games. Like you play the games, and Herm Edwards used to say you play to win the game, and ultimately, I mean, we should be measured on the fact with our program. I mean, academics, players getting better. I had a nice email from a dad of one of our players that just graduated the other day that talked about how he was impressed with Western and how it helped shape his son as a person first and foremost, and just makes you feel really good. So, but ultimately, I'd love to bring a national championship to this town, and this university, and our president, our athletic director, and then Ross, Ken, Dickey, all the people that work with our program here. I mean, that's pretty special and should be measured by that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say has been one of the toughest challenges that you faced, and it could be at any level, not necessarily at Western, but what's kind of a challenge that you faced that you that as a result of it kind of made you, maybe a better coach, but a better person kind of as a result?
One of the things that I faced here, certainly I think a lot of people were surprised that I took a college job. After close to 20 years in the NHL, people were surprised, and I know some of our own fans wondered about them hiring me because he's probably only going to be here for a year and he's going to go back, and and then the other thing that happened is college recruiting can be very negative at times, and the number of schools that use that against us and saying, well, why would you go there? Because he's just going to leave and go back to the NHL. And you'll be high and dry as a recruit. He's going to recruit you, and then he's just going to leave the NHL. That wasn't going to happen. It wasn't part of my plan. So I battled that for a long time. And then, of course, everybody looks at me, and I'm an old guy, and they, at least by chronological numbers, and at 68, and people have been using that for a number of years. Like, he's going to quit, he's going to retire, and use that against us in terms of recruiting, and so those are things that bother me a great deal, and I was just determined to not allow those people to have any right to say that, and so to me, just having the opportunity to coach here and going into my 9th year, the best time having a coaching job is when they tell you they want you and they offer you the job. And then the rest of it is kind of just coaching. But, I felt really special when they asked me to be the coach here. And then when they asked me to sign another contract, I felt pretty special. And I still believe that I've got some things to prove as a coach. And we'll do my best for this school and this program.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite? I know it's hard because, a lot of players and different things like that don't want to kind of single out a single team or something like that. But is there like a special team or memory that you have from your coaching career that kind of sticks out as one of the your favorite times or of coaching or just people to be around?
So my favorite hockey team is the 1956-57 Souris Elks hockey team from Souris, Manitoba, my hometown. My dad and my 2 uncles played on that team, and I was the mascot and used to get to skate between periods. And I've got some pictures in my office at home of me in my Souris Elks uniform standing in front of the team while they got their regular pictures. So those guys inspired me, and just to be around them. And I've coached some great players. I've had the chance to coach Gretzky and Yzerman and Messier, and just so many great players, and obviously here at college as well too. But to me, that was my favorite team. That's my hometown, and that's where I'm from. And not a young guy, but I'm a hockey coach from Souris, Manitoba. That's just been very, very fortunate.
Mm-hmm. So last question for you. So in the sports world, it can be really easy to overlook the fact that great things are happening every day, and that that players and teams have the opportunity to make a difference in their community and kind of where the town that they play in, and all that kind of stuff. So can you give me an idea of what are some of the ways that the hockey team here are able to impact the community in different ways that, or whether it's off campus or on campus?
Yeah, we have our community, our players involved in a lot of community events. We just did a Habitat for Humanity project where our guys were cutting trees and clearing ground for housing projects and so on. Obviously, we have players that go out to field days at schools, reading sessions at schools. I speak at a lot of things around town here, and just whenever we can have the opportunity to contribute to the community, we want to do that. Western does a great job, not just with the athletes, but with everybody being accessible to this community. So we're all about developing people here at Western, and in our hockey program, we want players to have parallel career paths. We want them to have a path to professional hockey, but we want them to have a path through life that creates opportunities for them once their hockey career is done. And that's all about treating people the right way. And when you meet somebody, you shake their hand, you look them in the eye, and you try to make them feel better about themselves, so that when they walk away from you, they got a pretty good self-esteem level going. And that's what we're about here, is trying to help other people raise their self-esteem.
That's fantastic. So thank you again so much for sitting down with me and sharing some of your wisdom, and know that my family is going to be at the hockey games cheering you guys on. So hopefully it's a successful season. Thank you for listening to the Walking with Legends podcast. If you like the content that you heard, please go on all of our social media platforms and like and follow us for additional content. Tune in next week as we examine the life and career of women's tennis star Serena Williams. Until next time, have a legendary week.